Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Above the Bar podcast, where each week we belly up to the bar with a new guest, find out what they do, who they are, and what makes them great. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alrighty, folks, welcome back to the Above the Bar podcast. It's your host, Sean. It is June 3rd. I'm over here, as you can all see. If you're watching the live, I actually have glasses on. I'm over here making a spectacle of myself with my spectacles on. So why not have somebody talk to me about medical related things? Not actually like doctors or anything like that, but we're going to be talking about how do these companies get by? Why all of a sudden did your doctor's office that maybe it was forever and a day, it was Dr. Howard Fine and Fine, and if you don't understand that reference, that's how old I am. And now all of a sudden it's whatever group. We're going to be talking about that thing, but really, I expect to see many, many messages from this person, our guest today's father, letting me know how amazing his son is because he tells me this all the time. So I figure at some point he will send me many, many messages on here if he can figure out how to use the YouTube Messenger piece to this, which is probably going to be more entertaining than any of it. So joining us from Parts Unknown, really, is it just in upstate New York? It sounds better to say Parts Unknown. It is should I just introduce you as the son of, or would you just, are you your own person?
I think that works. No, the son of works just fine. Yeah, he's more important than me anyway.
So joining us live tonight, it is Mr. Kevin Baker.
Thank you, Sean.
Absolutely. I told you there's 0.0 logic in how I introduce people. It's just all completely off the cuff and how it ever works for us. So Kevin and I are going to be talking a little bit about, how these healthcare companies get put together. He's involved in some purchasing elements. He's going to explain it all better than I could ever explain it to you. But before we get into all those elements, for those of you that are just joining us real quick, make sure you're giving this a like, share, follow, all those cliche things. I know it's out there, but listen, it makes a difference for all of us. If you want to look up Kevin as I'm giving all the little spiel stuff, you can check him out on LinkedIn at Kevin Baker is what his name is under. But real quick here, folks. So as always, I got the big board over my shoulder. If you got something you believe in, something you're supporting, you can reach us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, X. It's all the Above the Bar podcast. Our website is abovethebarpodcast.com. Our email is the Above the Bar podcast at gmail.com. Oh, already getting some 6-7s out there. Oh, I love it. So make sure you're reaching out to us. Make sure you're checking all those things out. Let's talk about the sponsors here real quick, folks. We are sponsored by, good Lord, Budget Blinds of East Greenbush, Hudson, Coxsackie, Schoharie, Delmar, and Clifton Park, North America's largest custom window treatment company, handling blinds, shades, shutters, drapery, you name it, they're taking care of it. They come to your house, they measure, they install. You're not getting one person measuring, one person installing, one person who's got purple hair and has never actually put a window treatment in their life, trying to tell you how to do those things. So make sure you're reaching out to Budget Blinds of East Greenbush, Hudson, Coxsackie, Schoharie, Delmar, and Clifton Park. This month, it's 25% off all motorization. As always, folks, if you tell them you're there to belly up to the bar, it's an additional 5% off of that order. So make sure you're reaching out to them. All right, Kevin, all the bill paying stuff is over with. So tell me about how you started an OnlyFans account. Oh, wait a sec, wrong show, completely wrong show. My bad.
So the day was the summer of 2021.
Times are getting hard.
Yeah.
COVID.
Yeah, just trying to make ends meet,
I just thought I really just thought I was gonna be doing comedy online. Have you ever seen that? Like, do you ever watch Kill Tony? Real quick sidebar.
Yes. Yeah, I love Kill Tony. He's hilarious.
I think the comedians that come on are some funny people. But I watched one and it was What's Up, Air? But it was really a girl. She was like, yeah, I thought I was just gonna be doing comedy on OnlyFans. I'm like, come on now, are we all that dumb? And then all of a sudden she said like everybody was Messenger, and that's what she started doing. I was like, that's wild.
You gotta recognize, real recognize real sometimes. Tony Hinchcliffe, I think he's created something very unique, I think, in that comedy platform that he's got, right?
He really has. He has come up with his gimmick to this is different than anything anybody else is doing out there.
Yeah.
Completely and utterly. So, well, let's get into it a little bit. So you work in the healthcare focus area, but you're doing corporate development, leadership development, execution, like kind of that inorganic growth side of thing, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
So how'd you even like? That's a whole lot of words in English. What does all that mean?
Yeah, first and foremost, I do not practice medicine. Okay, so please don't ask me anything medical related. There's a running joke in my family that because I work in the healthcare field, I call myself uh, I call myself a healthcare professional. I am the furthest thing from a practicing clinician, and I'm in a family filled with actual healthcare professionals that are doing the day in and day out dirty work of working with patients and actually serving patients. So
Okay.
I'm not on the clinical side. I want to preface with that. But no, I got into this space about a decade ago. I studied finance in undergrad, and I thought healthcare was a great field to be in from a business standpoint for a number of different reasons, right? And we can get into some of those reasons, but I thought it was a great space to be in. We all need to use healthcare, right? It's a big market. It's growing faster than inflation. I mean, it's just, it's a great space to be in.
So you get into this, but what do you do like actually doing? Like, are you because I read all the different stuff, investment banking, advising, small business, but are you actually buying and selling these healthcares? Like I don't understand because again, when I see some of the stuff that's out here and like in the capital region where we're at, you have like nobody's really like it's hard to find the mom and pop doctor's office anymore, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
the one that you might think is a mom and pop doctor's office, it's really not. It's owned and operated somewhere larger than itself. Like, how does what you do fall into that?
You're absolutely right. There's the independent mom and pop physician practice is dwindling. I mean, you can look at a number of different studies and data points on that. It has shrunk over the last 20 to 30 years. And there's a couple of reasons for that. But what I basically do is I work for a larger national organization that identifies independent practices, physician practices across the US that are looking for liquidity, right? The owners of this practice are looking for some liquidity. They could be approaching retirement age. They could be looking for some sort of an exit option. They're looking for succession planning. They're looking for resources to support their business. The reason, the reason why independent practices have dwindled is not necessarily because of one entity coming in and gobbling up practices. There's also the other side of practices just going bankrupt. They just can't operate anymore.
They
It's a
can't
much
afford
different
they can't
environment.
afford the insurance.
Can't afford the insurance, can't afford the employees. I mean, labor costs are going up and to the right. I mean, it's hard to pay your bills these days when the government is paying you less year in, year out. So it's just it's not feasible. It's very tough to maintain independence today.
Wasn't that the great misconception and I say this in the general practitioner sense, not so and I learned this from a doctor when I was in the Marine Corps. He was like, "Oh, I'm trying to intern to be a plastic surgeon." I'm like, "Why?" He's like, "Oh, because none of that stuff is ever covered by insurance, so I can charge what I want for it."
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah.
general practitioner, I got to accept insurance, I got to accept these costs. Really, most general practitioners, they make good money, don't get it twisted, but for the level of education required to become a general practitioner and the pay, it's really not marrying up the way it used to.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you think about it, like a lot of these docs coming out of med school and then coming out of residency and then doing a fellowship after that, I mean, they are just accumulating multiple six figures of debt, right? And so when you're coming out of medical school or residency, first thing you want to do is find a job that's going to maximize your income, right? Who
Right.
wouldn't? You want to pay down that debt as quickly as you can. And so, usually the more training, the more specialized you are in the field, usually the more you're going to make, right? And nothing against general practitioners or primary
Right.
care physicians, but they have limited training compared to an orthopedic surgeon, right? Your orthopedic surgeon is going to make more. Your plastic surgeon is just going to have a completely different business profile, right? Because it's
Right.
all cash pay, it's all self pay for the most part, right? So it varies quite a lot across specialties.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting as I learn more and more about that, how it's like, yeah, it don't pay what you think it does compared to uh the money. But you said you have a family of medical professionals? Like, I
Yeah,
only know your dad. Like, I don't know
yeah. No,
anybody else. He's not a doctor.
if you know
He
my dad,
stayed at a Holiday Inn
he's
Express.
not.
He stayed at a
He's not.
Holiday Inn Express, and he
Yes,
might think he's a doctor, but he's no doctor. So what are we
he's
doing
no
here?
he's no doctor.
Is
He's no
mom a
doctor.
doctor? Is mom a
No,
doctor?
no, no one is a true MD or DO. No physician, but a
Okay.
lot of on my wife's side of the family,
Okay.
a lot of people working in the hospital day in and day out in Western New York. So lot of
Gotcha.
respect. Shout out to Mike and Natalia over there.
I was gonna say, because your dad is like a monster networker, and if y'all don't
Yes.
know Alan Baker, spend about 15 minutes in Albany. I guarantee you, he's like Kevin Bacon of Albany, 6 degrees of separation from Alan Baker. Every everybody at some point in time, if you walk into a place and you're like, "Hey, I'm trying to find this guy," and this is what he does, eventually you'll be like, they'll be like, "Yeah, I know Alan." And listen, folks, if you have questions about what Kevin does, his industry, or why these things happen, or maybe you're thinking like, "Hey, I'm trying to get into a field like this," um, drop your questions in, and I know it sounds cliche, folks, but those likes and shares and follows actually do carry a lot of weight. So,
Hmm.
I mean, in the field you're in,
Yeah.
I mean, I consider it sales. I mean, is that how you treat it as a sales role? I mean, it's more like
Yeah.
acquisition sales, but
Yeah.
it's sales. You're not, obviously you're not door to door and cold calling so much. Maybe you are. I don't know. Do you cold call in that role?
I do a little bit of cold calling. The way I like to
Really?
think about it is a mixture between finance and sales. That's kind of
Okay.
my role, right? Because I'm doing a lot in looking at the financials of groups. I'm doing a lot of the financial modeling in Excel. I spend most of my time in Excel, but I'm doing a lot of the sales stuff too, a lot of the business development type work. So that's how I kind of view the role, is really a marrying up of finance and sales. But yeah, it's a little bit of element of, dialing for dollars, smiling and dialing,
Oh,
and
yeah.
that's definitely a part of the gig. And it's a good skill set to have if you know the number side, if you know finance, and you can marry that up with another skill set like sales. You can use sales. You use sales in everything, right? You're selling all the time, whether it's
Every
in
day.
your job, with your family, with the guy at Lowe's, right? To get a good deal on lumber. I mean, it doesn't matter. You're
Absolutely.
selling every day.
Well, it's funny you say that. I knew many in a life long ago. I remember talking to a guy who was a sergeant in Montgomeryville Police Department in Pennsylvania. Couldn't tell you the guy's name if it meant my life. And he was a sergeant. He's like, I really wish I'd have taken accounting in college and not criminal justice. I'm like, you're a cop. That makes no sense to me. He goes, because once he hit a certain level in his career,
Yeah.
everything was paperwork and everything was numbers.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't have to understand those other things. I was like, well, did it help you to get? He goes, not really. Criminal justice had it was nice, but they're going to teach it all to me here. I wasted a degree, and I've always thought about that. Like, I don't care what you go into. If you can go in and get a degree, have your degree in accounting and understand that, go do whatever the hell you want to do, unless you want to be like a vet or something like that. But even I promise you, your local vet wishes he had a degree in accounting, so he understood how to read his books and read his P&Ls and read and understand when his accountant says, "Hey, listen, you're not at your break even. We really need to go ahead and aggregate some of these numbers and go ahead and go through your gosh, I can't think of the term right now. All the different things that are on your P&L.
Mhm.
I can't think of it right now. I'll think of it later. But so you've been able to add those things in. So if I'm hearing you right, Kevin, you would recommend to somebody like, hey, if you're going out and trying to get a degree, at least a minor in something accounting wise or finance wise.
Something business related, I think would be really value add to someone these days. I mean, um, I struggle with this a little bit. I've got two young kids, and I always think about for them, what's the future, right? Like what jobs are going to be in most demand for them in 20 years because they're young, and you know, going to school, going to college is a huge investment. Tuition's growing way faster than inflation, probably in the double digits. By the time they actually hit school, I mean, I went to Hudson Valley and U Albany here locally, which, by the way, I would recommend that path for my own children. I think doing 2 years at a community college makes all the difference in the world. This is just my 2 cents, right?
Well, financially, it's got to be huge.
I think it's huge, right? I mean, you don't know, my sister-in-law did 2 years at community college and then went on to Cornell. She's incredibly bright and incredibly smart, but still, was able to save the first 2 years as opposed to if she just went there freshman year and paid massive amount of tuition. But she entered Cornell, an Ivy League, in her junior year, and walked away with a bachelor's at Cornell. You got the pedigree, but you didn't get the massive tuition and the massive debt. So I think she played her cards incredibly well. But yeah, I struggle with this too with young kids. Like, hey, what majors are going to be in most demand? And I think these days you almost got to be an IT person in some regard or the other, right? I think each of us probably hear AI at least twice, 3 times, 4 or 5 times a day,
Oh yeah.
right? I mean, you just got to know that stuff. You got to be fluent in it.
Well, how that's a good point that you bring up the AI piece. How is that affecting your world as far as making these purchases or finding these companies or all that? Are you seeing a big change with AI?
I will say there's no shortage of new AI companies that are trying to sell me something. I will I will tell you that I probably get pinged on LinkedIn at least daily about a new AI company that's in our space or wanting to sell something to me. So there's definitely no shortage of that. I'm not an expert by any stretch, but I'm trying to find ways to leverage AI, leverage Claude, leverage Copilot to make my life a little easier, right? Make my life more efficient in my work life, right? And it can be incredibly efficient in personal life too. If you're trying to create a grocery list for a vacation and trying to do some research on a vacation trip that you're doing, a lot of times I'll just just to start the ideation going, I'll just plug something into Chat GPT and let it do its thing, right? I mean, we've got these tools at our disposal. We might as well try and get fluent and use them to benefit ourselves, right?
Absolutely. So in your world with a position like this, what are some of the things that you're seeing, and we can just talk about here in the capital region even. I know your company is national. And again, folks, if you want to know more about Kevin or you want to connect with him, you can go right on LinkedIn and look up Kevin Baker. He's right on LinkedIn under that name. I think it says ruggedly handsome right after his name, but it definitely says Kevin Baker.
Got
Um, but I mean, in your world, how are you seeing changes to that healthcare landscape? Since we talked to already, the mom and pop, it's tough for them to stay open. We've moved into the larger conglomerate healthcare
Mhm.
systems that have 15, 20 doctors.
Yeah.
You hope to see your doctor. You're probably not going to. You're going to see and this is one that, hey, listen, I'm glad they exist, but I'm not a huge fan of the nurse practitioner. I'm not
Hmm.
like did
Yeah.
you just not want to finish the last couple years of schooling and just be done with this? Like, it's like I was almost there. And listen, there's probably somebody out there is going to cuss me out or anything, but correct me if I'm wrong. They do everything a doctor does, but the final notes.
Yeah. There's some billing. There's like some billing nuances too with APPs and physicians.
Right,
Sorry, APP is like a nurse practitioner or a PA. I'm using healthcare lingo here. I
right.
apologize. But yeah, no, I mean, I got a lot of respect for NPs and PAs. I think they serve a role within the healthcare ecosystem, right? Especially in areas I mean, we have the luxury here in the capital region where, this is the capital of New York State.
Oh yeah.
We've got a million people here in the capital region. We've got access to great healthcare opportunities here. Although our options are dwindling, we can get into that a little bit. We don't have many options, right? And so we can touch on that. But we've got we've got the great affordability to have good practitioners here, right? And Albany
Yeah, we
Medical
do well.
Center provides good, they've got a great institution there, good educational footprint for newly minted physicians, but they serve a purpose, right? We're kind of in, capital in New York, right? But for a patient that's living in rural Kansas where there's a shortage of physicians, sometimes the only provider that they could see is a nurse practitioner. And so in that instance, that plays a hugely important role in delivering healthcare in America, right? I mean, you need those people. But yes, for larger populations, more concentrated cities like Albany or Saratoga, if I had my option of seeing a nurse practitioner or a doctor, I'd probably pick the doctor if it's a more
Right.
complex, higher acuity thing, right? If it's just I've got a runny nose or something like that, it's something that, I can go to an urgent care. I'd be glad to see a nurse practitioner or PA, it doesn't matter.
I'd say, and I'm with you on that. It's very interesting. It's a dynamic that I've noticed that we're kind of like more and more. So I was curious in your world how that affects the landscape of what you guys are seeing as you're making these purchases, pulling these companies together, and kind of building them. Does that affect how you guys make a purchase? And maybe I'm saying it wrong, and you need to correct me. But when I'm in my mind, I'm thinking like if you're buying up that, there's three mom and pops, and one of them's like, hey, we got the doctor and three NPs and two PAs in this place. Does that affect the way you make that purchase compared to the place that is, hey, it's four full-time doctors, that's it, that's all we got in this place, each one has their nurse and each one has their office staff.
Yeah, the short answer is it depends, right? And there's so many different factors, but I will say I'll double click into the world of in nurse practitioners and PAs a little bit. The reason, so and being a nurse practitioner or PA, that is such a high demand area right now. Everyone across a lot of specialties is looking to hire a nurse practitioner or a PA. They are in very high demand. And what's the reason for that? The reason is it helps your bottom line. If you're a practice owner and you can hire a nurse practitioner or a PA to see patients that could normally be seen by a physician or now seen by a nurse practitioner or PA, it's actually going to benefit your bottom line tremendously. And
Really?
the reason why is a nurse practitioner or a PA on average, and this is going to vary from one specialty to another, but on average is about half the cost of a physician, 50%
Wow.
on average. These are just
Wow.
averages. Okay. But if the nurse practitioner and the PA is seeing the patient and documenting for the patient and billing for the patient, they are getting reimbursed normally on average only 85% of what a physician would make. So, right, if it's only costing you 50% less,
Right.
it's costing you 50% less, but you're able to bill 85% of what a physician would make, that delta, right, of 35% there,
Yeah, yeah.
that's going straight to your bottom line. And
Ah.
so it makes so much sense for people to hire nurse practitioners and PAs, and they're in such high demand because of that.
See, that's wild. So, I mean, that makes sense why, because they're seeing all the bumps and the bruises, and very easily can kind of bounce that person over and say, hey, we're now it's time to go see the actual doctor who's going to sign off on whatever it is. And again, folks, if you got questions for Kevin, you have questions about this world, maybe as we're talking about, you're like, wait a sec, now I understand why my doctor no longer exists in this way. Now I'm curious. Now you guys are you or aren't you a PE? And for those who don't know what a PE is, folks, it's a private equity. They buy up everything. Are you guys a PE or not?
We're majority physician owned at our
Okay.
company. Yeah.
So then it's not a private equity. Then it's just a bunch of physicians buying up things.
Yeah, the remainder of our ownership is with our management team, and then we do have some outside capital partners that we use,
But
but
not a
yeah,
PE. You know what I mean when I say that, like
yeah,
big.
absolutely.
Yeah, because I was
Yep.
curious because I knew one of the things that we're starting to see in the service industries where I'm at with your plumbers, your HVACs, your roofers, all those is PEs are coming in and scooping up those companies.
Yes.
And we've
Yep.
talked about it here on the show is they're coming in, they scoop them up, and they actually pay the owners for their likenesses. Have you heard about this?
Mm. No, of their likeness, like
Yeah.
how affable they are, or like
So
how many reviews they have on Google.
no, like, hey, Kevin Baker, plumber extraordinaire, uh, I want to pay for your likeness so that we can continue to run ads as Kevin Baker's Plumbing. Never change the name, never change any of that stuff. Maybe some paperwork and some structuring, all those kind of items. And then once we've done that, we'll buy several more. And what they do is they buy, look behind the curtain, folks. They buy up a whole bunch of them and they
Right.
never change the names of them so that if I went to you and I said, uh, hey, Kevin, I need to know how much my plumbing's going to cost. And you said it was $1,000. I said, well, I'm going to call the next plumber. And I called Dylan Murphy's Plumbing, and he's owned by the same PE. That system knows that I've already seen Kevin Baker's Plumbing. Now that I'm seeing Dylan Murphy's Plumbing, when he bills me for the same exact work, it's going to bill me $900
Hmm.
just because it knows I've already seen one of you. So it gives me a lower price automatically to make the sale.
Hey, it's not. Is it not genius though?
It's not illegal. It's
Mm.
absolutely genius, and we just don't know what's going on.
Yeah,
Now, is it absolutely moral? Let's ask that question. That's
that
always
that
the
is the
question.
question. Yeah,
Is
yeah, that is
is
the
people
question.
people
No,
get
and
upset at business all the time, but they don't understand the moral complexities of the entire thing.
absolutely. And what you just described there is what they call kind of the roll up strategy, right?
No,
Where they
what's that mean?
basically groups go out there and they just roll up a bunch of different businesses within a industry vertical, right? It
Okay.
happens it happens a lot in plumbing and HVAC. Roofing is a really big
Oh, I've seen
roll
that with
up
the
right
roofing.
now. Roofing is a really big one right now that PE firms are trying to roll up these roofing companies. I've seen roll ups for asphalt companies, right? Just like companies that are maintaining our roads, right? Some of them are private companies. Not here in the capital region area, but across the U.S. I've seen this. It happens in any kind of service industry that you've seen, any product industry. If you think about it, right? Like if you're deploying capital, if you're an investor and you're trying to, maximize your return as quickly as possible, if you can make a bunch of small acquisitions and roll these up and create a larger platform, and you're buying all of them at a 6x multiple, let's just say, but when you combine everything and you integrate it, you can sell it at a 10x multiple. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, right? It can be a little challenging if interest rates go up, maybe you can't demand such a high multiple, right? But a lot, historically in the last 10 years, you've been able to do that. It's a little bit more challenging now, but that's been one promising strategy that a lot of folks have pursued.
Now, I want to stay with this for a second, and I think it kind of goes into what you're doing.
Yeah.
Do you see a lot of like these smaller mom and pops where you say they kind of are aging out of it, where their children aren't following in their footsteps to purchase that business and to go into that field? Obviously, I think medical is a very difficult field to get into, but you my old doctor at the VA, he was a doctor. His brother was a doctor. His sister-in-law was a doctor. His daughter was a doctor. His wife, they were all doctors. That's what that whole family was doctors. I used to joke and say I think he might have been the one that put Moses in the basket in the River Jordan. Like he might have been that guy. He was so old. But his whole family was doctors. Do you see that kind of, because that's what I think I see in these HVAC and these plumbing companies is their children are like, I'm not going to do that work. I'm going to be a YouTube star. And they're like,
Yeah,
well, I'm going to cash out now and make my money. Are you seeing that in the medical world?
100%. Yeah, I mean, children are not necessarily going leaps and bounds into the medical field, for a few different reasons. It's just, it's a lot of school, right? I mean, by the time you get out of school and training, you're well into your 30s, maybe even into your 40s, and you've got, I mean, 500 to 600K in debt, so a lot of people don't want to delay that self gratification, right? That big payoff down the road of becoming a doctor. But on the flip side, a lot of people don't go in the medical field solely for money, right? They genuinely
Right.
want to go and treat patients, right? And so,
Right.
but yeah, you're exactly right. Like the reason, if I try and think back as to why do physicians want to partner with a group like us, right, or some other group? Why do they want some liquidity for their business? It's the same reason why anyone wants liquidity for their business, right? Why the roofing guy wants it, why the HVAC company, the owner of the HVAC company wants liquidity for his business. He doesn't have succession planning in place, right? He doesn't
No
have a
exit
second
plan.
guy or a third plan. There's no exit plan at all. And so when you don't have that plan, how are you gonna, if you built this business 20 years ago, hopefully you were able to sock away some excess earnings from the business, and you've got a nest egg that you can retire on. And then ideally, you want to sell the business and retire, right, in the next 2-3 years. If you have no one to sell that business to, an employee perhaps, or a family member, your option is to look elsewhere, right? And that's where a lot of PE-backed companies come in. That's where a lot of other larger strategic companies, right? Like in the healthcare world, United Healthcare is kind of the four-letter word, right? And it's a love-hate relationship with United Healthcare,
Pick the
right?
four-letter word you want, whether it be love or hate.
Exactly. So, is PE inherently a bad thing?
I think they get an evil
Yeah.
rap. They get the evil
They
rap. Like,
I know they do. I don't think it's fair though, right? I think it's people like to generalize. People, right? When something bad happens, usually people are going to put up their arms. People are going to complain about it, right? And then it ultimately gets to their local congressman, right? And then once it gets to their local congressman, it becomes a more inflamed issue, perhaps, right? If there's enough pressure for that congressman to care about it, then they start getting into congressional testimony and start bringing in the UHC CEO, right? And it starts to become an issue, and that's where real change starts to happen, is when the constituents of these policymakers start to throw a fit. That's where real change is starting to happen, right? And because there's only even if there's only been a few bad actors, I'm of the firm opinion you can't generalize and say everyone that's doing that thing is bad. Every right? I mean, you just can't. You can't generalize like that.
I absolutely agree with you there. And the other side to it is I think most people just don't realize what that most things you I think well let me correct myself. I think most people would generalize them with the 80s movie hostile takeover people
Yeah,
are now the PE firms,
yeah,
that oh they're the same as those guys. It's the same thing.
yeah,
No, no, they're not really. They just instead of selling everything off, they come in and trim the fat and boost profits so they can resell it everything together in 5 years. That's what they do. That's their goal is. I actually interviewed a guy on here. His job was he worked with a PE that they would buy things and then they would make him the CEO of the new company.
hmm
He would boost up the sales and then they would take him out of that company. They would buy something else. They would put him in to be the new CEO of another, and they just kind of moved him along the lines. And every time they put him in, he got a little bit of equity out of that, so that when they sold it, he cashed out of that thing, and then he moved on to the next one. And that was his whole world. I'm
I'm sure he
like,
did very well. sure he
Oh,
did
listen,
very well.
he was not living a bad life. I was like, why are you on here with me? You
Yeah.
have no reason. And he actually was originally started in, I think he was from upstate originally, and his family started in like the restaurant franchising world,
Mm,
and that's where they started at, and that's how he kind of moved along. So
very interesting.
so how do you see then? You know, and we were talking a little bit about the future of healthcare and how things are going. And again, folks, if you want to know more about Kevin, you can check him out on LinkedIn, name under Kevin Baker, and you can see what he's got going on. But what are some of the things that you're seeing as far as the positive changes with having a firm like yours come in, offering that liquidity, offering that new structure, and I think it sounds like a little bit more consistency for patients within a firm, within a practice, so that they don't feel like Monday was my doctor's last day, and Friday he's closing up, and I'm never going to be in this building again. What are some of the things that you guys are offering that maybe if somebody's out there right now listening to this and they're like, "Hey, I know my doctor went to high school with Methuselah. He may need to." And if you don't know who Methuselah is, folks, go
Mhm.
read your Bible. Um, but what are some of the advantages to this?
Yeah, there's a few. I like to think about it in kind of three different buckets. Like why would a physician do this? Because it's a marriage, right? It's a big deal to partner with someone else on your practice. And this is a lot of times this is a practice that a physician's built 20, 30 years ago with their sweat equity, blood, sweat, and tears. This business means everything to them. Their practice means everything to them. And us as the partners in their practice, new partners in their practice, we've got to be financial stewards, right? We've got to first and foremost take the utmost best care of the patients, and when we do that, the financials will follow, right? If you're providing terrible care to your patients, you're going to go out of business. I
You
mean,
ain't gonna stay around long anyway.
it's inevitable, right? I mean, first and foremost, clinical quality means everything in this business. But the way that I like to think about the value proposition is really in three buckets. First is the financial, right? So, yes, when we partner with someone, there's a purchase price, right? There's a liquidity event, right? They're getting a lot of cash up front, right? Sometimes that cash is spread out over a few different years. Sometimes they're getting equity, right, in a newly formed business, right, in the business that is acquiring, and that's a great way to diversify your equity holdings and recapitalize your business, right? You're not necessarily selling out, but you're becoming a shareholder in something bigger, right? And so that's really important in the healthcare space, because if you're a small mom and pop, right, and you lose 50% of your patients or 25% of your patients, you've got to either decrease your cost by that same amount or you're going out of business. If a larger organization loses 10, 15, 25% of their patients, yes, it'll hurt, but we're a larger national business. It's not going to impact us as hard as it would a small mom and pop shop, right? So when you go through a partnership process and you get equity in something larger, it's really a diversification. It's a de-risking of your business a little bit, right? So the financial piece is the first big one, right? They're able to get some liquidity, get some cash, and in a very tax advantaged way, right? We shouldn't forget that the tax man here. So
Hell yeah.
many of our partnerships are done in a tax advantaged way, which means a lot to people. The second is just more resources, right? A lot of doctors are just like completely burned out. There's a term in the industry called pajama time, which is when a physician is seeing patients during the day and they don't have any time to finish their notes in the EMR system, right, or their practice management system, they go home and they finish up their notes in the patient record. They're just burned out. Docs are just burned out. They're seeing patients, they're managing a practice, they're managing employees, they're trying to deal with vendors. If you're a small mom and pop, it's just very difficult to do that. You're burned out. And usually when you partner with a larger group, you're able to get more resources, right? Someone else is going to take some of the administrative burden off your back. And that's part of that's the second value prop. that we offer. The third value prop that we offer is we offer support for growth, right? There are some physician sellers out there that just want to sell and retire and sail off into the sunset, right? There are others that are looking for a partner that want to grow. They're aspirational, they're entrepreneurial, they've already started their practice on their own. They want to keep going. Maybe they're younger, right? Maybe they want to continue growing. We provide the infrastructure and the engine to give them growth capital to support going and getting new business. We'll give them additional business development and sales resources and marketing resources. And so that's kind of the third value proposition that I've seen, why physicians want to partner with an external group.
You actually have your first question. Kathy over, it says Kitty the runner, but her name's Kathy. I know her. She says, what percentage does the doctor have in care after they partner with a group like this?
There's so many different models out there. I've seen models where someone is just, a physician is just selling a minority percentage of their income. Maybe it's 20, 30%. And then I've seen other models where it's 100%. It's a 100%.
Like they're walking away completely.
They're walking away. Yeah. I've seen all different flavors of this.
So they have kind of the ability to pick and choose. Like, so if they sold like you said, a minority part, what advantage is that if I'm only selling 20% of my practice to a larger national firm? What is that even doing for me?
Well, you're retaining the other 80%, right? So you're not, if you're still crushing it in your practice, you can still make distributions to yourself, after 20% goes to the other company, you're still retaining 80%. And if you're making $1 million a year and you're only giving $200,000 away to the other party and you're retaining 800.
Right. But what are they doing for that? Like, what does a company like yours do for that firm or that practice? I keep saying firm, for that practice. Like, what is the advantage to bring them in at all? Like, why am I giving them anything?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to resources, I think, because some of the trends that we have seen in the industry are reimbursement is going down. Medicare, CMS, Medicaid, they are just not paying physicians what they used to pay them 20 years ago. Every single year, there's something called the Medicare Physician Fee Schedule, which gets released by CMS and Medicare. And in 2026, we actually had a modest increase of about 2.5% across the board on average. But usually it's a net decrease to physicians. For the last 30 years, it's probably been a net decrease. It has not kept up with inflation. It's actually gone down year over year. So when you think about your physician, right, the physician you go to, right, maybe it's a primary care doc. If they were making $100 last year on an office visit, this year's a bad example because it actually went up a little bit. In most years, the $100 they were making last year, they're only making $98.50 this year. And when you have reimbursement going down like that, I mean, it's hard to maintain your business. You've got to decrease cost or increase revenue somehow, right, to offset that. And that's one of the big struggles, declining reimbursement. The other big struggle is inflation, right? It's
not keeping up with it.
Rising costs. Yeah, it's not keeping up with inflation, but it's rising costs. Like I said before, there's a massive shortage in nurse practitioners and PAs because there's such high demand and you're paying top dollar for those, right? Like those mid-level providers have a lot of options. They've got a lot of employment options. And yeah, so the labor inflation is really, really challenging right now. So, what a larger group can do when they come in is they can help negotiate better managed care contracts for you. So if your rates are going down, your reimbursement's going down on Medicare, there's not really a whole lot you can do for that. But you can go back to the UHCs, the Blue Crosses, the Cignas, the Aetnas of the world, and actually improve or increase your managed care rates with them, right? To offset that negative declines with CMS. So A larger group will have more resources to help weather the storms and the big challenges that a lot of physician groups are facing across the board.
And it sounds like, and Kathy's follow up question was, what's the advantage to the patient? And what it sounds like to me is more resources for the practice to be able to actually
Yeah.
do what needs to
Yes.
happen, because smaller practices facing all these challenges, facing all these issues, are lacking the kind of resources that they could have in house, because that's what we all want. When I go to my doctor, it's real simple. And I go to the VA, and I know what's going to happen, but I really don't want to go see my doctor who tells me, okay, well, here's a referral, which then I got to fight with the insurance company to go get
Mhm.
because they're saying, well, your doctor put in a code 2, it needs to be a code 3. You need to call them back. Well, why don't you call them if you know what it's supposed to be?
Right.
No, you got to call them, tell them to submit this document, and then it'll change. I mean, and we can even get into the whole thing where this is my personal favorite. I don't know how many people know this, but did you know that your hospital is supposed to have, similar to a McDonald's menu, the cost for every single
Mhm.
procedure? It is a federal law. It is not
Mhm.
like, hey, it would be nice if you would. It is a federal law. It's probably at this point 5 to 10 years old, and every single hospital in America will not do it and does not do it, and they all have their BS excuse of, well, we don't do this because we don't want our patients worrying about what the cost is going to be.
Mhm.
They should care about the care of it. Go
Yeah.
blow smoke up somebody else's ass, folks.
Mhm.
Real quick here, folks. It is that time for that New Scotland Spirits last call. June is here. The days are longer. The grills are firing up. The patios are filling, and summer is starting to show itself. That means it's time to slow down a little, gather with good friends, and enjoy the moments that make this season great. This episode is brought to you by New Scotland Spirits, small batch, handcrafted whiskey made right here in upstate New York, from locally sourced grains to every carefully crafted bottle. It's whiskey made for sharing stories, celebrating wins, and making memories. When you're sitting around a backyard fire, enjoying a sunset on the deck, or raising a glass with friends, make sure you're pouring something worth of the occasion. Visit newscotlandspirits.com to find a bottle. New Scotland Spirits. Here to longer days, better nights, and a summer well poured. Do you know New Scotland, Kevin?
I do. I do.
Yeah. Do you know Jesse?
I don't. No, I don't know anyone over there.
Uh, Well, since you're local, if you want, I'll take you over and I'll introduce you to Jesse.
That'd
He's
be great.
he's the owner. He's he's a good dude. He's also,
Yeah.
you might know him as the sheriff of Lark Street.
Okay. I've
Have you ever
probably
seen Have you ever seen that
I've
on
probably seen it.
Instagram?
I haven't seen that. No.
If you go on Instagram and you look up sheriff of Lark Street, because that's where he lives at, is on Lark Street. He's got one of those beautiful big brownstones on
Oh
Lark Street.
man.
You know the ones I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
But the crackheads think that they can sit in front of it, and the
Yeah.
bum. And now, listen, folks. When I moved into Albany in 2009, um, Lark Street and Pearl Street, that's where you went. You went
That's
and you had a good time
basically.
there.
Yeah.
And you really didn't even go up to Saratoga, because it was like, I'm not driving all the way up there. I'm
Yeah.
just going to stay right here.
Yeah.
And uh, Lisa Leslie, the last time the NCAAs were here in Albany, said it best. Albany, there's nothing here. Do you remember that, Kevin? Like, she just
I remember
blasted.
that. I
She was
remember
like,
that was
she's
that
like,
was what, just last year, or it was
uh,
last year or 2 years
that
ago?
was two years ago. It was when
2 years ago.
what's her name, Caitlin Clark,
Yeah.
played here in Albany, and like you couldn't even get into that place. But yeah, Lisa Leslie was like, "There's nothing here. There's nothing to do in this place."
Loved that. Loved
And,
that. Yeah.
and they blast, and everybody, and now the mayor's like, "We're gonna bring it back." No, you're not. No, you're not. Like, listen, nobody's good.
I don't blame Lisa Leslie. I mean, there's just not a whole lot to
Have you ever
do
been to
here. You know.
Have you ever been to Stamford, Connecticut? Completely sidebar right now. You ever been to
I I
Stamford,
I
Connecticut?
I think I have. I've driven through.
Take
I took like a train ride there, and there's like a
yeah,
scenic train ride near Stamford that I've gone on before.
call your father, Alan. Say, take the kids taking my wife, and I'm gonna go to Stamford, Connecticut. And it might sound silly. I was there last week on a Wednesday night with a work related thing. We're sitting around on like just a regular restaurant across the street from the hotel. The street was packed. Everybody was happy and smiling. People were walking with their dogs. People were running up and down the road like exercising. It was absolutely the scene where you're like, this is how I want my nightlife to be. Enjoying good food, everybody around me happy. There was restaurants all the way down this row, and at no point in time was it like it didn't smell like hot bum piss like New York City. It wasn't
Mhm.
like you were being bombarded. And I sent the messages to my best friend and my wife. I was like, we need a road trip. Like, we're gonna go hang out in Stamford, Connecticut. They're like, where? I'm like, listen to me. This
Who'd have
this place
thought?
this place has got a waterfront harbor with a pier scene, and I'm like, this is silly, absolutely
I,
silly.
I I would imagine there's a lot of New York City commuter folks live in
That's
Stamford.
what it,
I would
it is.
imagine.
It's
Yeah,
one of it's everybody from New York City that doesn't want to deal with New York City crap, and
yeah. I
they
don't
just live
I
in
don't blame
Stamford.
them. You know what drives me crazy, Sean, is like I remember I was at a business meeting in downtown Albany on a Friday afternoon, like beautiful sunny day out, perfect day to just get out right in downtown Albany. Like I in striking distance, I could throw a rock towards the Capitol. Right, I'm not suggesting anyone does that, by the way. Um, but okay, but like right in the heart of downtown, and I was trying to get a cup of coffee on a Friday afternoon at like 1 p.m. You know, and I couldn't find anything that was open in like walking distance. I would have had to drive for like 5 minutes in my car to go find something. I'm like, this is downtown Albany.
It's
Like,
insane.
I couldn't find anything open. It was dead.
It's absolute insanity. I tell you, folks, like I would never tell somebody, Psh, want a fun city, come to Albany. I tell you, go to Saratoga.
Yeah.
Like that's what Saratoga has, kind of that Stanford vibe, but I liked Stanford better because it was like a single lane road. It was very like these roads were built with somebody going, oh, the largest horse and carriage will fit down this perfectly.
Yeah.
Like there was no other vibe about it. So
Yeah.
as we've gotten off topic here because it's something about fun and food, it always pushes me off the other way. So what are some of the things you got going up, Kevin? Like if somebody was looking for you, they had questions. What's some of the stuff you got going on?
Oh man, yeah. Things are crazy right now. Things are really busy. There's a lot of activity in our space right now. But yeah, I would say, if people are just looking to learn a little bit more about healthcare consolidation and succession planning for physician practices, I'm happy to always chat. I'm happy to always talk shop. So the best way to kind of connect with me is really on LinkedIn. That's really kind of my social media go-to right now. I'm not on Instagram really. I'm only on Facebook because I go to Facebook Marketplace. More so, my wife goes on Facebook Marketplace to try and find us some good deals on things. But yeah, best way to connect with me is really on LinkedIn. That's my go-to. I'm checking it every day.
Any
Uh,
upcoming internship opportunities? Somebody's looking for an internship.
oh man, we're such a large national company. I'd have to run the
Nothing on the
traps and
local
trying to
level.
yeah. I'd have to dig into that a little bit more. Nothing that I'm aware of though right now.
All
Yeah.
right. And then we'll go back to a topic real quick that Kevin and I were discussing before the show. So you've never had famous lunch, huh?
Never
I'm
had
kind of
famous.
disappointed, Alan. If you're listening right now and you can figure out how to type on your computer, I would like to know why you've never taken your son to famous lunch. And if you tell me you've never been to famous lunch, I'm gonna really be sad because like you are Alan
He's a
Baker.
foodie. He's a foodie. I'm sure
He
he's been.
has to have been to famous
Yeah.
lunch. So
He's a
then,
big
have you
fan
been to
of.
Gus's? Have you been to
I've been to
Gus's?
God. Oh, that was a staple growing up. Yes,
So
that
so
was a
Gus's or
staple.
so Gus's or hot dog Charlie?
Gus's.
Okay, fair enough.
Gus's.
See, this is the real conversation. And listen, folks, if you've heard me talk about this 100 times, Albany only has one food thing, and it's tiny hot dogs in tiny buns with like a pretty decent meat sauce on it. That's
You
it.
got it. with you've been to Gus's when you said with the works.
Oh
Let me
yeah.
get the hot dog with the works. That's when you know you've been to Gus's. You've really experienced the whole mini hot dog scene here in Albany.
Did you know Gus? They tried to put Gus's on diners, drive-ins, and dives, and he told them no.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was a whole thing. Like diners, drive-ins, and dives. A lot of people were like, "Oh, you got to go to Gus's; it'll be great." So they tried to get it on, and the owner of Gus's was like, "No, no, you're not coming here." And part of my opinion on that is, if you know Gus's, folks, it is the side of a house, like
Yeah.
legitimately the side of a house, and they're just making it happen right there.
The one thing I would say too, you're a local and you know about Gus's especially if you've actually been inside Gus's.
Yes, the 4 seats that are
Like,
inside of there, I have
yes,
sat in those
yes.
seats. I
If
have
you
sat
if
inside.
you if you didn't know there was an inside to Gus's, you're not
Right.
living. You're not living the full mini hot dog
Oh,
scene here in Albany.
yeah. There's like 4 chairs,
Yeah,
and
most people
1
don't know
booth.
that.
Yeah,
Most people
I've
just sit outside, right, under and then the picnic tables. They don't know
yep.
there's an inside.
I've definitely sat at inside at
Oh yeah,
Gus's, had the mini hot, but I always tell folks, I would never go to Gus's for mini hot dogs, I'd go for a Greek burger. I
yeah.
think
I would say,
the Greek
yeah,
burger is better than the hot dogs. And folks,
yeah,
it's a sausage patty burger with
yeah.
grilled peppers and onions. Throw a little mustard on that thing. I eat about 4 of them,
It's
and I have no
delicious.
reason eating so many of them.
It's delicious. The other thing I would say too, if you've got a pregnant wife and you're trying to speed up
Get
delivery
the
and
birth canal
labor,
greased up here.
yes, yeah. If you're trying to do that, some people go to Taco Bell. I would highly recommend going to Gus's. Get a
There,
hot dog with the works. I guarantee she's going into labor in the next 24 hours.
just we're lubing and everything. We're greasing it all up here, folks.
Oh
We're
yeah.
trying to
Oh yeah.
get this kid out of here.
Oh
That's
yeah.
absolutely hilarious. Well, Dad must not be watching because I didn't see any comments. I'm surprised he told me he was going to get on his computer. Do you know what happened the first time he was on the show? Right? Do you know what
No,
happened?
you got to fill me in.
Oh, it was absolutely hilarious. So I love your dad, and he's calling me. He's like, I can't get on. I can't get the computer to work. I can't get it. The camera's not where. He's having all these issues. I thought he called you about it, but maybe he didn't. So he's having all these issues, and I was like, and you see the show's live. If it happens, it's happening live.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm like, Alan, I'm gonna call you, and I did the entire hour with just me on the screen and the phone like this, next to the microphone, and asking him questions so he could just write on through the microphone.
He just texted me. He said he has been to Famous Lunch, so he's clearly
I told
listening.
you. I told
He's
you.
clearly listening. Yeah, I
I,
knew
I,
he would have been.
you
He's
know,
very much a foodie.
well, if you're in down around my neck of the woods, you shoot me a text and I'll meet you at Famous Lunch. You can't go wrong with a 6 pack from Famous Lunch,
That
and
sounds
6 packs and an RC cola. The
yeah,
only place I know that still carries RC cola.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
listen, folks, if you're finding Kevin through us or us through Kevin, make sure, again, that like, share, follow. If you're on YouTube, give us a subscribe. You can see these shows. We do this every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Very rarely do we miss any episodes. We did have a couple here recently, but uh, make sure you're jumping on. There's plenty of old episodes in there. You can hit that live button. You'll see what's going on. Next week, our friend Kristen Manna is bringing on a lady named Kathy Nash. She always brings me like these really cool guests from California in Orange County because that's where she's at. But this lady's written some books, and we're going to be talking about how to volunteer and get involved. And that might sound silly to some of you, like, I'm not volunteering. If you know who Brendan Bouchard is, he runs Growth Day. He's a big high level coach, motivational speaker, does all those things. He will tell you one of the fastest ways to get better at anything and to figure out how to manage your life is volunteer. Because most people you volunteer with have great time management skills or have already been very successful in life and ran successful businesses or have been able to retire and have the free time to volunteer.
Mhm.
So this is going to be a great episode to join us on. Now, Kevin, don't log off on me after this. We're going to talk for a couple minutes after the show. But in every episode, the guest always gets the final word. So what's our final word tonight?
Do something good for someone else tomorrow.
Alrighty, folks, be sure to push your stool in. This has been a Second Front podcast presentation found on Apple, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found.